Hi, guys. Welcome. This is episode 42 of We All Have Stuff.
We all have stuff, and today we have a special guest on. So, Krista, welcome to our podcast. Thank you for being
Yay.
on. So, why don't you tell our listeners who you are and what you do?
Hello, my name is Krista. I am an ICU nurse, and I've been one for the last 8 years. And I was a travel nurse, and here I am in Austin, Texas now.
Okay, so I actually have never asked you this question, so I'm interested to
Okay.
ask you this. Why did you go into nursing?
To be honest, I just wanted to help people, but I actually used to get nauseous when I stepped into the hospital.
Wow.
I would.
So I used to want to be a teacher, and then my dad's like, I feel like you're expensive. You need more opportunities.
Yeah, honest.
So it was my senior year of high school. He was like, "Did you decide?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna be a nurse." And he was like, and he just starts laughing at me, and he was like, "Don't you remember like you couldn't even handle when I was in the hospital, just had a heart monitor?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I think it'll become an acquired taste, like wine or something. Like I think I'll acquire a taste for it." But I truly just wanted to enter something that I would help people. I just
Wow.
wanted to be of help and in people in hard times. So
That is your personality, so I get that.
yeah.
So, I mean, my question for you, like, how did you overcome that? Because that seems like you're facing your fears off the bat, right?
I, which
I hate hospitals, but let me just go live in them
Yeah,
all
that's
day.
what I'm saying.
to be honest, I don't know because past me, unless you got a little glimpse of it, of I used to be very quiet, but in the sense that she got the glimpse that I didn't talk. So I don't know how I went from that to being in a profession where I have to continuously talk and tell people about their illness and sickness and be there for them. So I truly don't know how I transitioned, but yet I just kept forcing myself in that hospital. I just remember being nauseous and wanting to pass out half the time in my clinical. So I don't know. I think I just in my head was like, okay, that you're doing for the better good. You're doing for the better good. Because now I'm like, ooh, like something gory or something. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so interesting. That's so cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
I could not do that. I always say that's one thing I could not do. I hate seeing that stuff. So good for you. But it seems like kind of like when we've had other healthcare professionals, you just like you get used to it.
Yeah.
Like you're just like it doesn't phase you anymore.
Yeah. I think it truly became an acquired taste because now
Yeah.
it's like nothing.
Did you want to be in the ICU?
When I first decided to be a nurse, all I knew, I was like, okay, I like looked up and I was like, I want to be a travel nurse. I did like think of that. And then I was like, what direction? And then I became a nursing assistant it was in college in the summertime. And I got to be in the float pool, and then I got to see the different areas. And then I was like, okay, ICU, this seems great. And then I wanted to, because I was going to go and be a nurse anesthetist, was my original plan too. Then you had to be in the ICU for 2 years. So I was like, okay. But I just liked how everything worked in the ICU because I was like, ooh, critically thinking, constant like adrenaline, go, go, go. This seems like this would be where I could be of most help in like the rough times of like patients. So
Wow.
yeah, initially like seeing it and I was like, yep, I don't want to be med surg. I don't want to be anything else. This is it.
Wow.
Interesting.
Well, I think you probably get the question a lot, like, what's your favorite type of, patient presenting problem to see? But I think, based on what we do, since we talk about, mental health and wellness and holistic care, like, what's the hardest part of patient care for you? Like, is it communication? Is it like putting them at ease? Like, what's challenging?
I think I don't know. I think my personality, I don't feel like it's hard to ease people because I'm the nurse that goes in and they're probably on their way to dying. But like I'll go in and I don't think that's the hard part because I feel like I go in with this good energy and I know they appreciate it because I'll after the fact I'll apologize for how extra I am and they're just like no, like we needed this, like thank you for like thank you.
Yeah.
So I think the hardest part is more so being like the advocate for the patient, because I'll have, like, I remember this one patient where he was ready to go, but it was his family that just couldn't accept it. And it was like, do you see how he's suffering? And
Yeah.
I think it's harder for me to be like, okay, like I'm here for you and I will advocate when his family wasn't in there because like it was his time. And he was like,
Yeah.
so I think the hardest part is like advocating and the family coming at me acting like I'm the bad guy. And it's like, no, like, are you not hearing what your family member's saying? Like, do you see them? They can't breathe.
Right.
Yeah, I think when you say that, I'm like, that's hard in general, but to be that main person that's like the middleman would be like so stressful and so sad to be like, I actually take care of this person. I know their needs, but then their family's totally like, absolutely not. That's our family,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And it's like that push and pull. I didn't even think about it in the sense of like you being the one that caretakes. I've been on obviously the other side where I've been the family where it's like,
Mhm.
okay, we all have different opinions and thoughts, but you're like in it all day.
And I think that's the hard part too, is that I think families for it's not, well, it's like that's the only thing that matters, which as it should.
Hmm.
But forgetting that sometimes like there are, I don't know, like they want you to just be in there that whole time, and it's hard to like keep explaining when you have another patient that's dying in the other room and you have to be there for them as well, and they think that I just am making this up and that the results aren't real, and it's like the doctor already told you all this, like I'm trying to like convey it. I don't know, but it is, I think it's harder dealing with the families that aren't able to accept it,
Yeah.
because obviously sometimes with the patients it is what it is, but yet I still don't find it hard because I feel like I am able to give them what they need and then they feel more at ease. So I think it's just families that makes it harder sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely can see how that puts a lot of responsibility on you for kind of managing your own emotions and your patient, and then everyone else who's coming in with, like, this is their moment, right? This is the entire world is collapsing to them, but you're like, I see you, but I have other worlds to
Yeah,
deal
and it
with.
sucks because it's like, how do you tell them? Because it's like sometimes I think maybe families think because I have to leave because I hear a beeping, and it's like, no, that drip is what's keeping that other patient alive. Like, and we're in the middle of like
Yeah.
a heart to heart, and I was like, I'm so sorry, I have to go get this. And I sometimes I wonder if these families think, oh, she doesn't care, like
Sure.
she's abruptly leaving, but it's like, no, there's nobody else taking care of my patient. Sometimes other people aren't listening for my drips, and that's literally the life support. And if those run out, the blood pressure's tanking, and
Yeah.
so I think
Do
it's hard.
you, when you said that, like, do you, and I know every nurse is going to be different, but do you feel like you do still care, or is it one of those things where you, again, we talk about this with healthcare, you get so used to like watching people die and being in this trauma scene that you're like, yeah, I care, but like, it's like that fatigue of it all is kind of just there. So it's like, there's nothing I can do.
No, I don't feel as though I get to, like, yes, you get that fatigue, but not really, because for me personally, I don't, thankfully I haven't lost my empathy, compassion, like in the sense that yes, they're dying. It's more of, it's hard to put it because it's not that I don't care. It's more of like, okay, I might have gotten a little cold and where I know that this is the path, this is where we're at, but it's not where I'm just like, well, another one done.
Yeah.
Like, it's just more of figuring out how to, I guess, handle it in that situation. But I mean, sometimes it is more, I'm more accepting of it because I'm like, oh my gosh, grandma's lived such a hard, like a good life, because I'll hear the families like tell me about them, and I'm like, oh, they've lived a good life. Or I'll ask the patient as like if they are in that state, and it's just, I'm like, what's your proudest moment? So it's like I still care, but I think I'm able to, I don't know, compartmentalize. Is that
Mhm.
the right word?
Well, I would say when I hear you talk, it sounds like you have a, and of course we're here for mental and emotional
Yeah.
health too. So it's like, it seems like you have a good way to see the good light in it when you
Yeah.
talk about it, where you're like, okay, you lived a good life, or like you have like a little, in a sad, like trauma situation, it's like, how do I be this supportive light and
Mm-hmm.
see the good in some of it, or else I'm sure it would impact you a lot more negatively too, you know?
Yeah.
Do you feel like bedside manner changes with certain situations, like where it's better to be more clinical with people to get the point across and to really drive home how important things are sometimes, whereas with other situations you can be more delicate? Because I feel like for me personally, I've had nurses that are just so incredible and they're like, blame everything on me. You have a family problem, you don't want somebody in your room, blame it on me.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, they're like, okay, you know, you need XYZ. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it because this is just the way that it's going to be. And I appreciate when they're direct sometimes versus other times you're like, please tiptoe, you
Yeah.
know?
No, I do. It changes from situation to situation for sure. Because obviously, some days I'm not coming in. Like, I still give my my bubbly self, but I'll be like, no, like if you don't do this, like, and
Yeah,
I will be more direct.
sure.
But then they've gotten to use my personality when I come in and I introduce myself and I'm like, hello, my name is Krista. You're gonna be like, you're the loudest nurse ever. Don't you know it's night shift? Like, so like I start out, but then when situations, obviously
Sure.
I'll be more direct, and then I have the respect or the rapport with these patients because they're like, oh, okay, she's not just coming in like, you need to do this, and it's more
Right.
like, so different. Yeah, but I still will start out like in that bubbly self, but then
Yeah.
I am direct when it needs to be, because a lot of times, I mean, you're in critical care. If you don't do something, like
Yeah.
like you've got to, or it's life or death.
Yeah, I would say the thing that is interesting to me about like the mental and emotional aspect is, and we've kind of been in a few situations like this, Krista, together, so I feel
Mhm.
like it always comes up, so it's like a theme
Mm.
of literally the whole thing about why people struggle mentally and emotionally is like the unknown,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
And so when families or people in the hospital setting are like, you know, I think about one of our mutual friends and her dad was in the hospital and like he had that like brain aneurysm. And then we were like, when she was like, well, what do you think are the outcomes? What's going to happen? And like, I thought you did really well being like, how do I show up for this person's emotion to not scare them to death, but also not give them false hope and like, hey, like this could be bad, this could be good, but the reality is we're not going to know until some time passes. And it's like sitting in that with that person, like, I know this is scary and I know this sucks and I know there's nothing else I can really tell you when that family's like, well, what do you think? Like, are you sure? Like, probably pressing you a lot of the time, right? Like, but what's the outcome? Like, what's in like, I think a lot of people really want answers really fast and like they put pressure on nurses and doctors to give them when even you guys aren't God where you can be like, we know what's going to happen. And every
Yeah.
little thing, like every human's so different. Every accident situation is different.
Very
So what
individualized.
do you think about that? Because I think you do really well from what I've seen, being like empathetic but realistic.
Mm-hmm. So what do you like? How do I?
Is that hard for you to do?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yes, because I have to take a step back and like, because sometimes we have like, you always have people are like, we have faith, and like, yes, I do too, but yes, it is hard because like I know I've seen certain situations in that and it's ended badly, and I've seen others where, so yeah, it is hard because it's like, let me give them the facts, but also tell them that that's not for sure. So yeah, it is hard because it's like, oh no, like a lot of times we see this and it's like, you can't say that. It's more of like, this happens, but you never know.
Right.
Wait, be it. Yeah, it is hard because you also have to watch your words and not sound cold, because I think sometimes when I say things, I'm more just like thinking in the back of my head of all the situations and like how things work, and I'm like, wait, did that come off cold? Because I didn't mean to be cold. It's more of like facts of this happened then, this happened then. But yeah, it is hard because I feel like mentally and subconsciously I have to like think harder on how I'm gonna phrase things and not sound like a horrible person.
Like matter factual.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So, like, how do you take care of yourself after long shifts and, you know, really draining, difficult cases?
Um, I probably could do better. But I mean,
We
I
all
don't
could.
sleep. I will say, like, that's one thing. I don't sleep, but for me to be able to handle everything, I still need to work out. But like, if I'm in school, I have to wake up early. So it's like mine is working out and going on walks,
Hmm.
which stinks because sometimes that sacrifices sleep. But
Yeah.
for me, like, I need that, like, sweat before I go in. I need my me time before I can go do that. So I think, like, mainly, like, trying to work out, but realizing on my off days I need to sleep. But usually going to the gym or just going for a walk outside is like my way to, like, all right, what happened? Um, or I'll text Alessia or do a audio. Just me, the way I feel like I do it is I check in on other people, and it's
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
okay, this is my way to, like, feel better. Just even though it's not me talking about me, it's more
Yeah.
like, let me check on people, be like, hi, how are you? I miss you, whatever. Which maybe is not healthy because I don't always talk about what happened, but also sometimes it's like I don't know how to. I mean, it's just another day in the hospital. Is this something like people don't want to hear everything that you go through?
Yeah, see, I think that, Gabby, that whole sentence is like the
Yeah.
same thing I've heard from other healthcare professionals, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like, how do you talk about it? That's our concern for, like, as soon as she said that, I'm like, that's the concern right there, though, right?
But
Like, hey, people don't want to hear about it because it's just another day in the hospital. So it becomes this, like, you don't really want to talk about it every day when, like, I think I said it in that first responder firefighter episode. I was like, you talk about your trauma, but then you also are like, well, I'm going back to do the same shit tomorrow.
Hmm.
So
and
it
I
gets heavy to be like, do I talk about this all the time, or when do I need to talk about it and to check in with that?
Yeah.
and I think that's the thing is, like, okay, so I worked 5 nights in a row like a few days ago. It's like if I were to talk about it every day of what happened, I think that's more draining on me, where then I'm just like, I live a depressing life.
Yeah.
Versus, let me get through all of it, and then if something does hard come up, then sure. Like, I mean, the one time I had a panic attack, I've never had a panic attack,
Yeah.
but I had a patient who I picked up 4 extra shifts in a row. So I worked 7 nights straight, mainly
Wow.
because he kept asking. He was like, "You're back tomorrow, you're back tonight," or whatever. And I was like, yeah. He's like, "Okay, I feel safe. I feel safe with you." Because he was like at his time. But then that's where I forgot to check in with myself. And then at the end, I think I slept 28 hours in 7 days,
Oof.
maybe less than that, actually. But I drove home, panic attack. I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to process it. I couldn't breathe. And I was like, I cannot do again.
Yeah,
Because
too
I
much.
wasn't really talking about his. And, like, I mean, he just, I don't know, that one hit home. But yeah, where I need to start talking when it comes to that, and also realizing I have to take care of myself, even as much as I want to show up for, like, my patients who they're at their last moment. But it's like, but that's what you're there for, Krista. You're supposed to be there for them. And that's all he wanted, was you to be there every night.
So it sounds like it's hard balancing all of that.
Yeah. So sometimes it is, but I got that was like over a year ago. So I was like, I've gotten better in that aspect, where don't burn yourself out, because then how are you supposed to even still show up for them if you're really not even showing up for yourself?
Right. It seems like balancing that of how many days, or like what is your threshold where you're like, okay, this isn't it anymore. This cannot sustainable longevity.
Yeah. But I will say I don't regret it, because he wrote
Sure.
me a note before, like, nominated me for a Daisy Award before he passed away, and,
Oh,
like, wrote the most sweet thing, just saying, like, my personality is electric, and, like, he just is so grateful that he was able to be, like, have me. So I was like, you know what? It was all worth it. It was
Sure.
a struggle, but I was like, I made his last days
Yeah.
100% worth it.
Wow. And I mean, you came out of it with an understanding of your limits and
Mhm.
maybe some boundaries that you need on your time and your self-care also.
Yeah.
So, it sounds like sometimes I feel like especially in demanding professions like yours and, the first responders that we've talked to, it's sometimes you need to get to that point of critical mass before you're like, okay, this is where I draw the line.
Yeah.
I pushed myself and I can't do that again.
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like that's.
What do you think about your schedules? Because you guys work long hours. How do you think it impacts you? Like, you know, you work what? I know you mentioned you work that one time 5 days, right? So I
Mhm.
would say that's like pushing it. So you obviously picked up shifts, but usually it's like what, 3 12s, right?
Yep. But the thing is, not all of those were extra shifts. So it's like because my week, like as nurses, your schedule's not consistent, and especially night shift. Like for instance, I just work two, I'm off for two, on for two, off for one, on for four. And
Mm.
it's like that's probably the part that's like the hard part. It's like most of the time you only work 3 days a week, but if they end up like compiling the 2 weeks together, it's
Yeah.
just so it's I think that makes it harder
Yeah.
because I mean even so working those many hours, you don't actually get lunch breaks. Like you
Mhm.
don't, you're supposed to. But I couldn't tell you the last time I took a lunch break. Like you get your food out, you eat while you chart, the call bell goes off, or your vent goes off, or a drip goes off. Like nobody can watch your two patients, or sometimes I have three patients and they have three patients. Like that's not realistic. So I think that's probably the hard part too, is I'm there from 6:30 to I think I left this morning at 8 a.m.
Yeah, those are long shifts.
So
That I feel like that's why healthcare is such a thing that us even, I mean, we do the same. Mental people always talk about mental health people needing people too, but I think all of us healthcare providers, we have such a role to take care of other people. And when you talk about taking care of other people that long, like 12-hour shifts, days in a row where you're like survival, keeping people alive, that's like, it's exhausting when you say it out loud.
yeah, it is.
Especially what you said, dealing with their families and dealing with the emotional part that comes with it. And then people are passing away in front of you. It's like so much stuff. And like, you're like, okay, let me go home and try to sleep.
Yeah. And then like you sometimes don't pee. Like I think I peed twice yesterday.
I think you need to practice peeing and
I
allowing
mean,
yourself to pee.
well, sometimes I will say so. I sometimes you just don't like. I just remember the like when I would have be in like Florida. I had like three ICU patients. They're on vents. They're all on 5 to 6 drips. They're like you. Sometimes you can't like safety
Yeah.
like you can't.
Do you feel like at certain places you're short staffed? Because for me, being a
Oh,
mental health provider, my first thing on when you said
oh,
that was like, am concerned for this person taking care of other people. I think you need permission to pee. So it sounds to me, if you're worried about other
Yeah.
people, that we should have like more people to take care of
well,
these
and that's
people.
the thing. It's like yes, we are. Like I know, and like here I'm like where I'm at now. I'm able to like I am able to. It's just like I'll try to go pee, but I'm also charge nurse, and I have three patients. And then people are like, "Hey, will you do that? Hey, hey!" And like last night, this morning, the one nurse goes, "Krista, I'm so sorry. Like I feel like everyone was pulling you," and I was like, "No, that's what I'm here for. I'm here as your resource. Like that's what I'm here for." But it's more of like I need to be like, hold on, I'm going to pee. But it's like they'll be like and I'm like, okay. And then an hour, 2 hours, I'm like, I was gonna go pee 2 hours ago. But it's
Yeah.
more of like
So what I'm hearing is
it's a
maybe
me
we need
problem
more
now.
boundaries. Okay.
It's a me problem now. But before, when I was in Florida, I can honestly say I was scared too because the one time I did, my nobody went and checked my pump, and my patient's blood pressure was like nothing, and I was like, why is
Yeah.
no one listening? I said I was going to the bathroom or I had to go get a snack or something. So I think like that part is triggering to me because I'm like, someone's life is not going to end because I had to go do
Yeah.
this. So, but here, I 100% it's a me problem.
But I get that though, because it would be stressful to be like, I'm basically in charge of keeping these people alive right now. And
Mhm.
there's like that little bit of anxiety, it sounds like, if I go do something and I'm not there, if something happens,
It's my
then like the
license.
pressure's on you.
It's
Right.
my nursing license. It's what happened. It's your like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
my livelihood is going to
Yeah.
be challenged.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel like when you're not working, do you feel like the needs that you have are because you need me time or because nobody needs me time? I think those are different. It's like the demands of what you need versus like, nobody talk to me because I don't want to be needed.
See, I don't think I mean, it's rare if I go in those like moments where I don't want to be talked to. Like I
Yeah.
truly I don't know. Yeah, no. I feel like it's rare
Yeah.
that I have those moments.
It sounds like you have more of a mindset of wanting just everything to be more positive.
Yeah.
Right. Like I like not like when Gabby's saying that, I get what you're saying, Gabby, because that's totally me, even in my job where I'm like sometimes like I don't want to hear anything about anybody right now. Like I'm like tapped out, where you seem to have like the approach of I want to just talk about happy, good stuff and be
Mhm.
around good stuff. And so you're okay with being around people as long as it's more positive vibes.
Yeah. 100%. I think that's like and that's why like even like I'll text my friend here and I'm like, do you want to go get like tapas, like have a little happy hour, like just like tell me what's going on with your life, like give me, I don't know, it's just more energy, like better energy. But
Mm-hmm.
obviously you're gonna have moments where it's like it's not good energy, but yet I'm still happy to be that person for them to confide in, and I'm like, so whether it's positive or not, it's like as long as I'm able to be there, I still enjoy it, but I still am gonna bring the good energy and try to make my friends feel better about their crappy situation. So I think it's just me getting out and not being in a hospital is just,
Yeah.
I don't.
Do you have other nurse friends where you lean on when it comes to like work stuff more?
Mm,
Like, do you talk to your coworkers if something happens?
yeah, like I'll talk, especially I'll talk to some of the nurses and then the nurse practitioners that are there. Like I'm friends with them, so it's nice where we'll like kind of debrief about stuff, and I feel better about. I was like, oh, okay, so there was all right. So we'll like talk it through. So yeah, I feel like I have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say is something that causes you the most stress when it comes to your job? Like the most anxious? Do you have like an example or anything that's happened where you're like, no, this is something that like when you mentioned that panic attack thing, like what happens to throw you into more stress and panic than maybe other situations?
Um, I think that we are, because I feel like I don't get that stressed outside of work. I feel like the stress and anxiety that hits more being at work is just the fact that I'm in I'm in charge to be the advocate. I'm the
Yeah.
person
So
in
what you
charge
had
of
said.
the person's life, and like you have administration coming at you saying you need to admit I'm like, with what nurse? Like I cannot physically give the care that they need. I can't physically, so I think it's more of that gives me anxiety, is because this patient deserves this care and needs this care, and if I give more over here, then that's someone's life or death. So I think that gives me anxiety, is just making sure my coworkers are also like, I'll take on an extra patient before I give them an extra one, because it's like I'm responsible. Let me take on this because they already are feeling overwhelmed, and I feel like in my role as a charge nurse, I'm like, okay, I got it, or you take it, but I will do everything, but you do the charting, whatever. Like, I think it's more of just me making sure my nurses are good and then also being the advocate for them and the patients.
Mhm.
So I think that's what gives me anxiety, is making sure everyone's okay and feels
So,
safe in an environment that we're in.
right. It seems like sometimes there's just like a lot of chaos and maybe how
Yeah.
responsible you feel.
And everyone's coming to me, like I'm getting, like we have a house supervisor that's throwing words at me, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And then I have like, they're like, well, the higher ups, and then like everybody's, yeah, coming in my ear, and I'm just like, okay. But somehow like I'll keep it cool, and everyone's like, we love when you're in charge, like you just do, and I was like, internally I feel like I'm freaking out.
Hmm.
Right. So, I mean, is it more like administrative stuff and like just management that is stressful to you, or are there times where you walk in and there's specific patient issues that you're like, I hate when I get this?
I don't know. I don't think I ever can say like I hate that I'm getting this. It's more of the anxiety of like the impending doom, like like there's no hope. Like, and I think it's more of like, how do I handle this? The family's like, we have miracles. So I think I don't ever hate getting the certain patients. I think more so I just take it on as a challenge of just like, okay, this is how we're gonna do it. But I don't think I ever get stressed out now that I've been in it for the last 8 years. Like I think I'm more walking in with like calmness of like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
it's interesting hearing you talk because you, and obviously I'd be interested to hear other nurses because I'm sure everyone's perspective is
mhm.
different, but it is interesting to hear like your biggest thing is totally like families. It's not even like the patient. It's like when you talk, you're like, okay, this is the situation. Now you're more of like, how am I going to approach the family when they're like hopeful and they're struggling with it? So it seems like your emotional stuff and your stress revolves around the people that are okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Because
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel confident in the sense that I'm going to be able to be there for these patients, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to, that is strange too, to think about that they are my
I like
more,
it. I
that
think
they're,
it's an interesting thing. It's just something I never personally expected like that to be the
Mhm.
stressor. So I think it's definitely, I mean, it's an important thing. I totally
Yeah.
get it. It was just interesting. It took me by surprise that like that's the main thing that you seem to emotionally and mentally have like the pull to worry about the most.
Which, and it's crazy, but like, yet I still will be okay talking to them, but I'm just like, how do I word this in five different places or
Yeah.
five different ways to like get the point across without sounding like a horrible human? But, and it still doesn't stress me fully, but it still stresses me more because I'm like, are they not seeing what I'm seeing? I mean, because sometimes, like, I had a patient that I did talk to the family, and she was like, "No," I was like, "Does the patient realize like that she's like not gonna be well? Like, she has end stage cancer, like blah blah blah." And they're like, "She says she does," and like it was easy to talk to them, and then even with her, I'm like talking to her, and I'm just like, hmm. And then just picking up cues where it's like, is she okay? And then she's like talking in the future, like, yeah, my husband will visit her late, like when she's there. And I was like, oh, we're not putting ourselves in that situation. Okay, we're okay. But it's like, yeah, so it doesn't stress me out, even though the family member or the patient herself was like not fully coping. But yet, I don't know.
Right. It's like
Wow.
watching people in denial and stuff.
Yeah, it's just like,
Well, I would say too my perspective too, and I definitely just I think this is why we lean on like our nurse friends or doctor
Mhm.
friends, right? When something happens, is the language and like everything that happens. It's like, oh, it's over your head. There's like, you hear that from anybody that's struggling going into the hospital or has a loved one. It's like, yeah, they gave us back X, Y, and Z, or they told us X is going on, but like, I don't know what the hell that means. It's like to us, right? It's like, your own language, and it's like you have your language. So you're like, does you guys not know what this means? And a lot of times when you're on the receiving end, you're like, here's this chart. I think we're going to be okay, right?
Right.
yeah, I will say, and that's why too, like I take pride in like being able to because I see like I always make sure to go in with like the doctors talking to the families or if the patient is with it, but when the doctors go in and explain everything and then they'll leave and I'm like, okay, do you need a moment to process? Did you understand what they said? I'm like,
Yeah.
no. And I'm like, all right, X, Y, and Z, and just like being that voice too of like before the families go, ah, and then I'm like,
Right.
let me calm the storm before the storm hits. Like,
Right.
let me not
Sure.
get your brains on Googling all these. You might have got the wrong term, and now you're like, I'm dying.
Right.
Right. I mean, I say that to clients all the time when they come in freaking out. I'm like, we are not, what are we going to do when we leave the session? We are not going to talk to Google. We are going to call your provider and ask more questions.
Right.
We do not want to go down the doomsday like, oh my gosh, I have the big C word just because I got blood work that wasn't okay, right? But
Yeah.
that's what humans end up doing. We go to,
Yeah,
worst
I mean,
case
I
scenario.
still do that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Krista, you know what that meant, and I'm like, I'm like,
Yeah.
But what if, right? Yeah.
I'm dying.
So,
Yeah.
like, what's missing from patient education? Because it sounds like you believe that there's a lot of importance to giving clarity and making
Mhm.
sure that the family and the patient understands. But I think in healthcare and mental health care, there's an absence of adequate, digestible information about
Mhm.
what they're going through, what they need, what treatment looks like. So, like, what's missing? Is it pamphlets? Is it more like less lingo, more heart to heart? Is it more time with the patient? Like what's missing and what's possible?
I think it depends on the situation, but I think a lot of times what I see is that there it's not that it's you have a different provider, like not
Yeah.
the same providers on every day. different providers have different like ways of going about things. Some are direct, some are not. Some just believe that they can do everything and anything to help this person. So then they give this little sprinkle of false hope, and then the minute that's given, and we run with it. And
Yeah.
like family can't get that out of their head. So I think it's just more, it's, yes, we can educate and we can give the pamphlets like for the strokes, we can do all that, but I think at the end of the day it's just having these different providers. It's hard because some aren't as direct, some don't have as much time, so there's that too, to be able to explain. Or like, because like we have an NP, she has to see all 10 of the patients, and if there's someone downstairs and like each family's wanting to just talk to her, and she's like, I've already been in there. But then the provider earlier, the doctor that she was with, said this one little thing. So now she's like, well, I didn't say that. And now they're like, well, you said this, he said that. So maybe like not being on the same page, and just, I don't know. I think it's just having different providers and how they approach each patient sometimes is like the hard part.
Yeah.
Seems like working with a team in general can like,
Yeah.
that's when everything's in chaos.
Yes, because it's hard, because if like this patient was crashing all day and then they had the conversation though with another provider yesterday and the patient was here, they're like, why did this happen? It was your fault. And it's like, well, no, they just probably gave you too much of like good information. And it's like, just watch what you say, because after that it's over, because they're going to be holding that. So I think it's just more so how each person, and you can't change that part because everyone's different and everyone has different beliefs on how they can handle that situation or that illness. And I don't know.
I will say, I will give you credit, Krista, just because I know you, right? But I do, even after having this conversation with you, I do think for me and Gabby doing what we do for a living, I think I've said this to a lot of my clients, because it's like I'm always trying to make my job easier and them less anxious. Of, you can have the smartest, most intelligent nurse or doctor, but if they don't have that empathy, forget about it. Because like your care feels like it's like, who. And so I have so many clients through the years that come in chaos, high stress, high anxiety around like an illness or an injury or something happening with family, because a doctor said something so blah blah blah, I don't know, like so nonchalantly or so with no empathy. And then that person's sitting there for weeks or for days in this like distress of, I don't know. But like there's something about a provider using the empathy tool of just like, hey, even if you don't know, I don't know, but we're here, we're going to figure it out with you. Like, take a deep breath, we got this. There's something about that reassuring empathy quality that you definitely have because you care. That is the number one thing for mental and emotional health with somebody that goes into any hospital or illness setting.
Agree.
No, yeah, because I will say there's so many. I mean, I see from traveling and meeting different people, I'm like, why are you in this field?
Yeah.
Like I'll come on and the patient's like, they were horrible, blah blah, and like I can do my job of like, all right, let me talk to management in the sense like this isn't okay, like they shouldn't be doing this, but it's also at the same time it's like I can't stop everyone from being like that. But it is sad because so many people probably shouldn't be in the field because they don't have the empathy, they don't care, they're just there to get a paycheck, they're working 10 days in a row because they're just like, I need money, and then treating the patients like keeping them in their own shit and just not caring, and making family members clean up their family member, and it's like, what are we doing?
Right.
So I think lacking the empathy and making such a horror, because it's none of these patients want to be there, none of them want to be there, none of them want their ass wiped, none of them want you to see them in their most vulnerable state,
of course.
But it's like some people don't take in account like, hey, let me take a step back, think of it, if that's your grandma, think of it, that's your mom. But like some people forget these people are not just patients or not just a number, a room number. Treat them like real people. But a lot of people, I mean, there's sadly so many nurses that and like providers that just they don't care, and then these patients feel that, and they just, I don't know.
So sad. So before we end, what is some advice you would give to somebody going into the nursing field?
I will say my first thing is stop listening there's so many nurses that tell these new people, like people wanting to go into the field, don't do it. Why would you do it? It's the worst field. Block out the noise, like remember why you wanted to go into it, but also realize, you're not going to learn everything in school. You're going to learn it as you go. You're going to learn from older nurses. You're going to learn from providers, but like block out the outside noise of some of the negativity and just truly understand why you wanted to go into it and make sure you're going into it for the right reason. Because I feel like lately I see a lot of students and they're like, the nurse is down in the ER, the day shift nurse said this, and I was like, please stop listening. Like, we need people to come into this field that like have the desire versus all these burnt out nurses who overworked themselves during COVID or wanted to make all the money, but just to truly just block out the noise and remember why you wanted to do it.
I love that. That was cute advice. Thanks for that.
Welcome.
Yay.
Yeah, well, thanks, Krista. We appreciate you being on here to give your perspective of what you do. It also just helps everybody just have insight of everything that any type of healthcare provider goes through. So we appreciate you spending time with us.
Yay. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I guess we'll see you all next time. And if anybody has questions for Krista or experiences in nursing, we would love to hear them. So,
yes, drop your nursing experiences below.
Bring the vibes.
Yay. Bye, guys.
Until next time, squad.